You are such a good woman, a true mother of many children, and of course, you are a very courageous woman if you decided to have so many children," Natalie, a playground buddy, respectfully said to Gina. "Thank you," Gina replied with embarrassment. "But, it's just that I grew up in an orphanage myself. I never knew my parents, and I always dreamed of having a large family. So I'm trying to give as many kids a home as possible. By the way, they're not all mine." "Really?" Natalie marvelled. "Yes, 3 of them we adopted. They were orphaned after my best friend died," Gina nodded sadly. "How awful! What happened to her?" "She died with her husband in an accident," Gina answered and sighed heavily. "How unfair it is sometimes," Natalie exclaimed, placing her palm on her lips. "It's such a pity that tragedies like this happen to good people." "Yes, that's really unfair. My friend Holly was a good woman." The 2 women fell silent, keeping an eye on the little ones frolicking in the playground. "And the others? Are they yours?" Natalie cautiously continued. "Yes, I gave birth to twins in my marriage. So it turns out 5 flowers of life are growing. This is a whole bouquet." "Your husband is a good man, I guess. How does he cope with such a load?" Natalie kept wondering. "No," Gina smiled sadly. "He couldn't handle all the chaos. Our own twins were already a handful, and my friend's kids were too much for him." "Have the arguments started?" Natalie asked regretfully. "Yes. Michael became nervous and angry. He shouted at me and the children constantly. He insulted us and reproached me for being on maternity leave and not working. He accused me that there wasn't enough money in the family and that all my attention belonged only to the children and not to him." "Why did he say that? Didn't he realize how hard it is to raise 5 little kids? Why didn't he help you?" He didn't even mind at first. He agreed to adopt Holly's kids without arguing. But then when he actually faced it, he realized that he couldn't handle such a burden. Gina replied quietly, "So, did you get divorced?" "Unfortunately, it happened. Michael abandoned us. And not just abandoned, but went to a rich mistress." "How could he do that? He's a scoundrel." Natalie was outraged. "She's rich, a little older than him, but with a well-established business, which lacks a man's hand. He told me all this when he came to get his stuff. He bragged. How could I miss such a chance?" "Why did he do that to you? Couldn't he just walk away quietly?" Natalie shook her head pitifully. "I don't know whether he wanted to hurt me or justify it to himself. It was too hard for me to think about the details. My heart and soul were shattered. Only the kids kept me from losing my mind. I had to hold myself together to not fall apart." "Mum," Natalie's son ran up to the bench. "Let's have an ice cream." "Okay, Sonny," said the woman, searching through her bag. "Here, go to the store and buy it." The little boy tucked the bill into his pocket and happily ran off to make the purchase. Watching him, Gina let out a heavy sigh. "Shh, don't make a fuss," came the whisper of her eldest daughter. "Mummy doesn't have any money right now. We can do without ice cream. It's just unnecessary stuff." 3 snub-nosed, white-haired boys and the little girl with red curls gathered around Elaine, their older sister, and began to whine in frustration. But the girl only hushed them, sending them off to play in the sandbox again. Witnessing this, Gina could barely hold back her tears that threatened to burst forth. After her husband left her, she found herself starting from scratch, struggling to make ends meet with the pitiful allowance provided by the state to pay bills and buy groceries. The older daughter, Elaine, understood everything, but it was much harder to explain to the younger ones why they had to share clothes and go without sweets. Taking care of 5 people on your own is a lot of work, no matter what anyone says. Natalie shook her head. "I don't know how to manage with just one, and this one would probably be the ultimate challenge." "Nothing. We're all together, that's the main thing, Gina replied, her voice trembling. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I heard you were assigned a house? Yeah, we live right here, practically in the suburbs. Gina fell silent again, remembering the run-down house they received from the state. It had never been repaired. The walls were cracked, the ceiling was covered in decades-old whitewash, and the roof leaked mercilessly at the slightest rain. And how do you live there? Natalie smiled. Must be nice, with the fresh air, huh? Not bad, Gina replied, holding back a sob. The first time she saw the housing, Gina was horrified. How is it possible to live here? But it was unnecessary to tell about all the hardships to a stranger. After all, Gina didn't want to look too pathetic, making Natalie show more compassion than she already did. Mum, do you have a handkerchief? Elaine asked, approaching Gina. Igor has a runny nose again. Here you go. Gina smiled guiltily at her daughter. Oh, we have colds all the time too. It's normal at their age, don't worry. Natalie tried to encourage. Yeah, I guess. Elaine shrugged and ran to her brother. In fact, the younger kids were periodically sick with colds because of the bad environment at home. Endless medicines drained a considerable amount of money that could have been spent on repairs. Without repairs, kids' colds continued with enviable regularity. It was a vicious circle. Elaine, gather the little ones. It's time to go home, shouted Gina. Leaving already? Asked Natalie. Yeah, I still have an interview to go to today. I want to try and get a part-time job. Who's going to look after the kids? Wondered Natalie. Our neighbour, Mrs. Goldstein. She is a holy woman, smiled Gina. It won't be bad for us, but she helps all the time. She substitutes for me when I need to run errands in town. She has no grandchildren. Her son died, God rest his soul. She says she enjoys taking care of the little ones. Wow, how does she manage so many kids? She's used to it. She used to work in a kindergarten, but now she's retired. So she gravitates towards the kids, just to find some happiness and meaning of life. A noisy group led by Elaine ran up to Gina, chattering away. That's it, let's go home. Mrs. Goldstein is already waiting for us, she said with feigned severity. Goodbye, shouted Natalie after them. Goodbye, squeaked the children in unison, waving their hands. Oh, well, I've been waiting for you. Come into the living room. We'll have tea now, Mrs. Goldstein greeted the guests. As soon as the front door of the apartment opened, the noisy crowd rushed in, almost knocking the elderly hostess off her feet. Don't run around the apartment, Elaine scolded them. Let them, waved the elderly woman. Thank you, Mrs. Goldstein. You are our saviour. I will be forever indebted for your help, said Gina with gratitude. Oh, it's nothing, smiled the elderly woman. Elaine, dear, go look after the little ones. We need to talk to Mum. Waiting until the eldest girl disappeared into the room, Mrs. Goldstein motioned for Gina to lean closer. Gina, that inspector from Social Security came by. He says they have a suspicion that you're not taking good care of your children. Oh, they've come to you already. I know about their suspicion. They sent me a letter. It says they'll probably take them all to an orphanage, Gina said bitterly. Those scoundrels! What are we supposed to do? Mrs. Goldstein shook her fist at nothing. I'm going to get a job. I need to improve my financial situation urgently. Listen, dear, you have such a good voice. Maybe try to be a singer, unexpectedly suggested the neighbour. Gina thought about it. Back in the orphanage, she often took part in various competitions and won them, easily surpassing her opponents. All the teachers prophesied a good future in the world of music, but it turned out that getting on stage without connections was very difficult. My train has already gone, Mrs. Goldstein, Gina said tiredly. I haven't sung in a long time. As soon as I got married, I tied myself up with all the household chores, and stopped singing at all. It's just like muscles. You have to practice all the time. Think about it, my darling. Think about it and practice. I'll help you with the kids. Just find the right path for you. Gina promised to think about it. Then, leaving the children with her neighbour, went to the interview. So, what position are you applying for in our restaurant? The manager, Lawrence, looked at Gina, tapping a simple rhythm with a pen on the tabletop. Did your ad say that you needed someone to wash the dishes? She answered timidly. Yeah, but you realise it's hard work, right? And you won't run away on the first day, will you? Of course not. I have 5 kids to support. I don't have many choices. Good. Then you can start. Already? She was surprised by the haste. Do you have any reservations? The manager raised an eyebrow skeptically. No, not at all. The kitchen turned out to be a cramped and hot room, making it very stuffy. Gina was provided with a simple apron and gloves, and then escorted to a sink full of plates. Well, why are you standing there? There's plenty of work to do, shouted the manager, urging her on. I'm sorry, Gina squeaked, scurrying over to the sink. Apparently such treatment was the norm, as none of the employees even thought to resent it. Gina got to work listening intently to the surrounding conversations. How will our musicians cope now? Came from one of the cooks. It's fine, we still have live music, and we'll use recorded vocals. It's not a big deal. Besides, I'm pretty certain that our clients don't care about what to listen while they eat, replied his companion. Excuse me, what happened to the singer? Gina voiced from her corner. The cooks looked at each other, deciding whether it was worth discussing the restaurant's internal problems with a newcomer. Yes, she got pregnant. She's on maternity leave. We haven't found a replacement yet. One of the cooks waved his hand. The owner is currently looking for a new singer, but who would come here? His colleague chuckled. Is it really that difficult? Gina inquired, washing off the soapy foam from the plate. It's a matter of having a decent voice and appearance. After all, a singer has to perform on stage and be like a face of the restaurant. Gina remained silent, involuntarily recalling her conversation with Mrs. Goldstein. She doubted her vocal abilities, but after all, this was just an ordinary restaurant on the outskirts of the city, not the Academy of Arts, right? After her shift ended, she removed her gloves, tidied her hair, and headed straight for the manager's office. If you came for the money, you'll get paid at the end of the week. Lawrence glared at her. I know, but that's not what I want to talk about, Gina blurted out. Then what? Are you thinking of quitting after all? Then you won't get your paycheck. Consider it an unpaid internship. Take me on as a singer, she said, gathering her courage. Oh, really? Are you kidding at me? The manager shook his head. Just give me a chance. Oh, don't be ridiculous. It's as clear as day that you're not cut out for it. Lawrence's words seemed offensive to her. He had never even heard her sing, so he had no right to be so dismissive. Driven by some inner pulse, Gina took a deep breath and began to sing the song with which she had once won a contest. What are you doing? Lawrence wrinkled his nose with feigned displeasure, but Gina didn't stop, continuing to sing without a microphone or music. The words flowed from her soul, forming a beautiful and slightly melancholic melody. All right, I ought to admit that it was not bad. It'll do for a restaurant. Lawrence reluctantly agreed, amazed by the power of the dishwasher's voice. You see, you should have listened first before judging me, Gina said proudly. So you want to sing with us? Fine, muttered Lawrence, but I'll pay you as a dishwasher, and if you like you can take home the dishes that the client refused. Only for the sake of your children, so they don't go hungry with a mother like you. It was clear that Gina's audacity had offended the manager, but he couldn't afford to not include her in the band, as the next performance was just 2 days away. Where else could he find a replacement? Thank you, Gina sincerely expressed her gratitude, At least it's some form of payment, better than nothing at all. The most important thing is to do what you love." Seeing her enthusiasm, Lawrence wrinkled his nose, displeased by the sight of his subordinate in good spirits. After a moment, however, a nasty smile appeared on his lips, as if he had thought of a way to further humiliate Gina. "Doing what you love, huh? Oh dear, I forgot to mention that you'll be singing with a phonogram." "What? Why?" "I'm good enough as I am," Gina said in shock. "I don't care about your abilities. All I want is to be sure that you don't mess up the performance." It was obvious that Lawrence was doing this intentionally, humiliating her by thinking too highly of herself. His gaze seemed to say, "Look, this is what you're really worth. You're only capable of pretending to be a singer." But even that was enough for Gina, unsophisticated by the gifts of fate. "The first performance is in 2 days, and if you mess up, you won't even get leftovers." It had been a month since Gina had been assigned to her new position. She continued to sing, never having the chance to show the audience her real voice. Lawrence never paid her promised money. She mostly survived on grocery trims and occasional handouts from particularly successful concerts. Gina knew he was just profiting from her, but she was not discouraged, especially since she got a real friend here. "Do you know who you are? You aren't a dishwasher. You are the real prima donna of this worthless diner," Ned smiled, adjusting his waiter's shirt. "Don't embarrass me. My show is in 20 minutes, and I can't have my voice shaking," Gina giggled. "By the way, this is for you." The young man elegantly pulled out a bouquet from behind his back and handed it over to Gina. "Thank you, but flowers are usually given after a performance." Gina thanked him, inhaling the sweet scent of blossoming buds. "I'm afraid I'll have too much work to do it after the show, so put them in the dressing room, and they will please you." Ned smiled. From the first days, the waiter tried to woo Gina by giving her small gifts and nice little things. He was a nice, sweet guy, but Gina couldn't bring herself to reciprocate. The betrayal of her ex-husband was too strong for her to open up to another man. "How's your grandma?" Gina asked, trying to change the subject. "She's fine. Moping, of course, but generally good. She gave up a lot after Mum died, even though it's been years. I don't think she'll ever fully recover." "Lucky you have her. Even though you didn't know your father, you still had a family," Gina said, clapping Ned on the shoulder in a friendly manner. Despite her wariness, she felt sympathy for the young man. However, she couldn't decide on anything more than friendship yet. "Hey, enough with the snot. Get your makeup on and get on stage," Lawrence shouted angrily, looking at them. "Can't you be more polite?" Ned frowned, instinctively shielding Gina with his shoulder. "Are you going to admonish me too? Would you like to lose your job?" The manager frowned menacingly. "Yelling at employees is a wrong and useless management tactic," Ned retorted. "That's okay, I'll run. The show is actually coming up." Gina intervened in their conflict, soothingly stroking Ned's back. "Don't talk too much here," snarled Lawrence angrily at Ned. The waiter gritted his teeth, but held back the rage that was bursting out. It was a pity to lose his job like this, at the whim of a reckless and arrogant boss. "It's just a shame that you're always insulting Gina, keeping her from opening up." Ned kept trying to get to the boss's conscience. "None of your business, Romeo. Go on, you'd better collect the plates," quipped the manager. Sighing heavily, Ned headed for the hall, where the stage was already in full swing, preparing for the performance. "I wish I could break all this stuff so she could sing in her own voice," muttered Ned, looking at the musicians setting up the equipment. Suddenly, his eyes fell upon a concert microphone, which everyone seemed to have forgotten about, placed on the edge of the stage. Obeying a spontaneous idea, Ned approached it and discreetly disconnected the device from the laptop, then hiding the cord under his apron. "Now we'll see how you set the phonogram to her," Ned grinned. An hour later, Lawrence was frantically rushing around the stage and yelling at Gina, "You fool, how could you lose it?" "What's it got to do with me? Actually, you sent me to the dressing room yourself, and I didn't touch anything," Gina squeaked, afraid to raise her eyes at her furious boss. "Well, what do we do now? How am I supposed to set the phonogram if we don't have a working microphone?" "You think the audience is stupid enough not to notice?" snarled the manager, hovering angrily over her. I can sing live," stuttered Gina with fear. "One more word and I'm gonna get your head blown off. Live." "Chief, the show's in 3 minutes. Are we coming out or what?" said one of the musicians. "Yes, we're coming out," Gina shouted in fear. She gathered her last strength to resist the tyrant, realizing that this was her last chance to prove her point. "All right, you guys play and entertain the people. As for you, Gina," Lawrence looked at the singer disparagingly, "if I see even a single dissatisfied guest, you'll immediately pack your bags and vanish, and also compensate me for the cost of the microphone." The spotlights flashed on the stage and the guests began to applaud, welcoming the musicians. "That's it, go! You'll only get one shot at this," Lawrence hissed angrily and then pushed Gina towards the stage. Finally, Gina got a chance to sing in her own voice. She no longer felt any excitement for the audience, only anger at the idiot boss and a desire to prove to him that she wasn't anything. "Hello, welcome to our show," she shouted. Her powerful voice reverberated off the ceiling wall, spreading enchanting notes throughout the hall. The musicians got into action, and along with the first chords, the words of the song started coming off the singer's lips. "That was wonderful!" exclaimed someone from the audience. "Encore! Bravo!" The audience applauded. An hour of the concert flew by unnoticed for all those gathered. Gina's real singing amazed the guests, and even she herself did not expect such a strong reaction. "Why haven't you sung like this before? Please, don't put any more phonograms on." Gina bowed happily, sent the delighted crowd an air kiss and left the stage. "I'm so glad it worked out for you," Ned exclaimed, meeting her outside her dressing room. In joy, she rushed to hug the guy. He froze from happiness, and then also wrapped his arms around her. They stood like that for a moment, and then embarrassedly went to different directions. "Oh, I need to wash my makeup off," Gina fussed, embarrassed at her own impulse. "Yeah, I have work to do too." Ned left and Gina followed him with a look. The guy's embrace made her heart beat a little more often, and it became harder and harder to deny their growing sympathy every day. A few more weeks had passed since then. Gina's number of appearances increased. After all, every day more and more people wanted to get to the concert. Now she always sang only with her voice. And her fame slowly began to spread throughout the town. "No way!" Gina exclaimed in surprise, looking at her phone screen. "Look how many views that video of you singing has gotten," smiled Ned. Apparently, one of the guests had guessed to capture Gina's song on his phone and then posted the video on the internet. "You've definitely been noticed. The video has become very popular. People are sharing it with each other, and everyone is admiring it," the waiter continued. Gina inhaled happily, afraid to believe the best. "And, by the way, I contacted the author of the video and asked to leave your phone number in the description if someone wants to offer you a creative contract." "Come on, who needs me except our little town?" Gina brushed it off embarrassedly. Suddenly, her smartphone vibrated in her pocket. She pulled it out, glanced incredulously at the unfamiliar number. "Hello?" Gina answered breathlessly. "Gina, hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm a representative of a music company. Do you have a moment to speak?" "Of course." Not believing in what was happening, replied the singer. "Great. We'd like to offer you a job as a vocalist with us. You will need to move to the capital and sign a contract. All expenses will be covered, and all that is required of you is your beautiful voice. What do you think?" "Oh my God, of course. I agree." "Wonderful. In that case, please confirm your address. We'll send tickets. We look forward to your visit soon." The interlocutor disconnected, and Gina looked at Ned in disbelief. "Wow, the capital. Can you imagine?" she said admiringly, feeling her head start to spin. "Listen, why don't you think about it for a while?" Ned said with a serious look. He didn't seem to like the news about Gina's soon departure. Moreover, it even made him wary. "But it was your idea. You're the reason they got my number," Gina exclaimed. "It's just that it's really far away. I thought maybe one of the locals would want to hire you, or they'd call you on the radio. But the capital? Do you realize what kind of people are there? I think you're just jealous that someone's starting to admire me besides you," Gina angrily blurted out. "That's not the point," answered the guy. "They're all just thinking about ratings there. They don't care about human life, soul." "What the hell do you know about music? I believe in my success. Not without your help, by the way. However, it's a pity you end up being such a coward." "What about the children?" asked Ned, calming down. "They said they'll cover all the expenses. So, we're going to start a new life altogether. And you can stay in this swamp if you like it so much." "Gina, money can't buy happiness." "Of course I can't buy happiness. But ice cream? Yes. And clothes for the kids, and home improvements. My God, you can't imagine how tired I am of living impoverished, scrounging from paycheck to paycheck." Tears came to Gina's eyes. The drop of success gave hope to start a new life, to get rid of the shameful image of a lonely no-one-needs-a-mother and become a popular singer. It was a pity only that Ned, who always helped, this time turned out to be blind to her suffering. "I'm leaving anyway, with or without your approval." She threw to her friend and ran towards the exit. "Wait, I was just—" But Gina wasn't listening to anything anymore. "Kimberly, well, is that woman from the video coming to us?" clarified the head of the music company to his assistant. "Of course, Mr. Klein. Where will she go?" she replied. "All right, get her a normal apartment. Give her some money for the first time. She isn't moving in with the children." "Yes, and I'm in shock. Isn't that many expenses?" "We've promised, of course, but who knew she had a whole brood of kids?" "It's okay. She'll bring us more money than we're spending now. The main thing is to slip the contract to her in such a way that she doesn't read it, and then we'll squeeze every drop out of her." Mr. Klein smiled. That same evening, the assistant went to the station to meet the future star. "Hello, it was me you spoke to on the phone." Kimberly smiled broadly when she saw Gina getting off the train. "Oh, hello. I'm sorry, I'm not alone. Kids, say hello." The cluster of 4 toddlers curled around Elaine and Gina, quieted for a moment, squeaked a greeting, and continued their fiddling. "Well, great. Load up the car and let's go to your new place." "Is the apartment really ready yet?" Gina wondered. "Sure. You just sign right here." Taking advantage of Gina's confusion, the assistant quickly opened a folder with papers in front of her and pointed to the right place with her finger. "It's all right there, isn't it?" Gina said with a little doubt. "Well, of course it is. What's the point of us deceiving you? We're going to cooperate." Without blinking an eye, the assistant lied. After getting the signature, she slammed the folder shut. The radiant smile immediately dissolved, giving way to a businesslike cliffhanger. "Okay, well, check in today, and then we're off to record the song tomorrow." So fast? I thought they'd give me at least a couple of days to recover, get settled in after the move. Gina was surprised. Sweetie, you're no longer in your village, but in the big city. A couple of days here is money. Money that nobody's going to lose for nothing. So come on, gather your things and be at the studio at 7 tomorrow. I'll text you the address. That's it. Hey, let's work, came from the loudspeaker in the studio. Give me a break, Gina pleaded, finishing another recording. While you're resting, the competitors are working like crazy. And look at their ratings. You can only dream of such now, the producer angrily reprimanded. My throat is already sore. Spare my vocal cords. Damn it. Okay, you have 5 minutes. Gina, with a heavy sigh, took off her headphones and sat down in the chair prepared by the assistants. Are you okay? Whispered makeup artist Christina, whom they had become friends with during the long preparations for the performance. Life in the capital is not easy, Gina sighed, as she put her face under the cosmetic brush. Simultaneously with the recording, she had a photo shoot for Star at Work, so today the singer had to sing well and look irresistible. I understand. I don't have days off either, Christina nodded. Everything that initially seemed like a fairy tale quickly faded away. That damn contract! If I had known, I never would have signed it, snorted Gina. The conditions are inhuman. I hardly see my children. Sometimes we work 20 hours in a row. I'm wearing myself out. And for what? What's it all for? You have to pay for popularity, sighed Christina. Yeah, but for some reason I'm the one paying, and others are making money. Are you ready? Came the voice of the producer, who burst into the dressing room, meticulously examining the makeup that was applied. Mr. Klein, maybe that's enough for today. I'm tired, sobbed Gina. Everyone is tired, including me. Who has it easy now? Snorted the producer. But I feel myself like a slave. That's exactly what you are, a slave of show business. The man grinned angrily. Did you sign the contract? Yes, you did. Do you get paid? Yes, you do. And if you want to quit, pay the penalty and leave. Gina only sighed sadly and looked down. She realized that the choice voiced by her producer was just an illusion, and in reality there was nothing she could do. What don't you like? Saying this, the man loomed over the singer. He took her chin and forced her to look into his eyes. You will work as much as I say. Is that clear? Who are you? A mere singer from 1,000 around here? So keep your mouth shut and be grateful for having a job. The recording ended 4 hours later, with Gina feeling completely exhausted. Now she even remembered her work at the restaurant with some nostalgia, where she had at least some days off. Almost home, she felt her phone vibrate in her pocket. Hi, came Ned's voice from the speaker. Ned, I'm so happy to hear from you, and I'm sorry, I was so stupid. Gina exhaled. It's okay. How are you doing? Ned, everything is bad. You were right. It's just hell. Moving here was a mistake. More precisely, I shouldn't have trusted this studio so easily. To them, I'm just a money-making tool, which they discard as soon as the batteries run out. Don't worry, we'll figure something out. The former colleague tried to encourage her, as always. What is there to figure out? Do you know the penalties for breaking the contract? You know, I'm strong in spirit, so don't worry, we'll get through this. I'll be there soon and try to sort it out. A week later, Ned burst into Mr. Klein's office. You can't exploit her like this. It's inhuman, he shouted. Who is this, anyway? Raised the producer's eyebrow, glancing at Kimberly, who was standing behind the uninvited guest. Either the fiancé or the lover of our Gina. I still don't understand. The assistant shrugged. I came here specifically to find out what gives you the right to exploit her talent like this. You don't let her see her children, and I'm sure you're playing games with the payments," said Ned. "So, dear groom, nobody forced your Gina to come here. She signed the contract herself. She receives a steady monthly income. How much is left for me is none of your business. You know, a lot of money goes into organization, cosmetics, flights and housing too." "You're all crooks. I've seen enough of you in my life," Ned said with disgust. "Anyway, I don't have time to listen to this nonsense." Mr. Klein waved his hand. Obeying his gesture, the guards, whom Kimberly had called in advance, dragged Ned out of the office. "Don't touch me. I have not finished speaking." "Settle down," phlegmatically threw one of the burly men, dragging Ned down the corridor. "You think I can't get a handle on you? I'll go to the police," Ned exhaled muffled, hanging on the guard's arms. "I'll have you locked up for beating." "Beating, you say? Is that beating?" muttered the second guard skeptically. "Do you think we should show him what a real beating is?" His partner smiled with a vicious smile. "Well, since he's going to the police anyway, at least let him complain about a real beating." Nodding to each other, the security dragged Ned into a darkened den. They threw him against the opposite wall, making him knock over a small table along the way. "And what, are you going to torture me?" Ned hissed, feeling his battered sides aching. "Yes." Without another word, the guards began to beat the guy, trying their best to hurt him. At first, Ned still resisted, trying to at least cover his head with his hands. But soon the strength was no longer even enough for that. His mouth was full of the glandular taste of blood, and his consciousness gradually began to fade. "That's enough," came the voice of one of the guards. "Yeah, we'll dump him somewhere in a back alley." "Well, well, be careful with him," came a new voice. Ned jerked, but immediately experienced a new attack of pain, and then quietly groaned. Barely opening his eyes, he noticed people in white coats and a bright lamp pointed directly at his face. "Oh, he's awake. And you said he wouldn't," said one of the orderlies cheerfully. "Where did he even come from?" said the elderly doctor perplexedly, looking at the terrible beatings. "Oh, he must have quarrelled with someone at the club. They found him in an alley. An elderly man was going to the store, saw him, so he called an ambulance." "All right, let's get him on the table and patch him up quickly but properly," he said to the surgeon and started working. "Where am I?" Ned woke up after the operation. "In the hospital, young man. Trauma department." The doctor greeted him. 4 hours we treated you to fix everything your abusers had done. Thank God, no major traumas. Tell me your name. Where are you from and what happened?" Ned introduced himself, and when he named the town he had come from, the elderly surgeon was overjoyed. It turned out that he himself was from that town. "Nice to hear." The waiter wanted to get up, but immediately coughed from the pain in his battered limbs. Lie down. You need to rest now. You're my countryman, and it's a matter of honour to help you. Therefore, tell me what happened." The doctor immediately calmed him down. "It doesn't make any difference. You'd think you could help. There's too many big people involved in this. It's best not to even get involved." Ned became sad again, remembering the real reason for his visit to the hospital. "Don't look at me like at an ordinary physician. Actually, I also have connections and some influence. So spit it out." "Where would a doctor get connections?" Ned skeptically remarked. "Well, we save all kinds of people, and some of them leave business cards ready to help in gratitude for their saved health. So, come on, maybe we'll punish your abuser." "I'm okay, but they're holding a woman almost in slavery. She's got a voice like an angel, and those bastards make her work like a damned. She can't see the light of day, and they won't let her near her children." "Is she your bride?" The doctor nodded understandingly. "Not yet, but I love her more than life. I'd do anything to save her." "All right, hero. I can see that you'll rush into fire and water to rescue her. I'll help you, but get some rest. I have a couple of calls to make." "Mr. Klein, there are some serious people here to see you." Kimberly ran fearfully into the office. "What's the matter?" The producer jumped up from his chair. They... But the assistant did not have time to finish her sentence. A respectable gentleman in an expensive suit entered the office, followed by two tough guys. "To what do I owe your visit?" Mr. Klein said dryly, noticing the serious guests at once. "Why, sit down, there's no need to be nervous." The guest smiled dazzlingly. "My name is Mr. Anderson. I'm a lawyer and a representative of the company." He silently held out a business card, making the producer literally turn pale after reading the name. "Really?" Mr. Klein said quietly. Yes, that's us." "What business brings such dear guests to my humble abode?" Mr. Klein subserviently snickered. "We want you to terminate the contract of one of your singers so that she won't have to pay a penalty." "What? I don't know that you deal with singers," Mr. Klein said in surprise. "And that's none of your business." The lawyer flashed his perfect smile again. "My client, I emphasize, insistently asks you to let Gina go and never remember of her existence again. Is that clear?" Mr. Klein only nodded, wiping away the cold sweat that appeared on his forehead. "And yes, if the girl's reputation is damaged or discredited in any way—" "Oh, don't worry. I understand all that. No claims. I've already forgotten she exists." "Fine. Remember, I will see to the termination of your contract with her, and if you try to cheat—" Mr. Anderson didn't finish his sentence, only brushed a non-existent speck of dust off his shoulder, got up from his chair, and headed for the door. "Mr. Klein," he suddenly spoke up, having already practically left the office. "What?" asked the producer nervously. "The termination papers must be ready by this evening." The serious men finally left Mr. Klein's office, closing the door softly behind them. In the silence that hung, even the ticking of the hands of the clock seemed to be a drumbeat. "She's our favourite singer, the main earnings, the concerts, all tied up with her," whispered Kimberly. "Do you think I don't know that, without you?" Mr. Klein bellowed, making her wince. "Didn't you see who it was? Do you think such people are refused?" "How on earth did that beggar woman get such connections?" exclaimed the assistant. "What does it matter? Sit down at once to prepare the documents, and make sure you don't mess up anywhere, or you'll be skinned. Got it?" That evening, Gina sat by Ned's bedside. "I just can't believe they gave up so easily," muttered Gina, hanging up the phone. "What?" Ned called back from his bunk. "I just got a phone call from the producer. They're giving up all claims and cancelling the contract. But I really don't understand why they changed their mind." "That's a great idea," exclaimed Ned cheerfully. "And I'm pretty sure my doctor had a hand in it." "I don't understand anything. An unfamiliar man called me this morning, said you're in the hospital. I rushed over, and here it is." "Yes, that was him, probably. Imagine, it turns out he grew up in the same town as me, and he turned out to be a great man. See, he even helped you." "You don't know how happy I am," said Gina, sobbing on impulse, and hugged Ned gently, trying not to hurt him. "It's because you weren't afraid to get involved in all this, even though I talked you out of it." "Come on, what's the big deal?" But she didn't let her saviour finish speaking. Gina leaned over his face and kissed him directly on the lips, finally managing to overcome her inner fear of her new love. "Does that really mean you agree to be my girlfriend?" The guy smiled as they finished hugging. "Of course," Gina said, embarrassed. "Why would you ask something like that? my little dummy." "I'm so glad. Only you should realize that I can't leave the kids, and we'll always be together," she muttered anxiously. "Trust me, I'm not scared of your kids. I'm practically used to them already," Ned nodded confidently. "You'll move in with me right after you're discharged. The studio promised to keep the apartment. There's plenty of space there, enough for everyone," said Gina, happily squeezing her eyes shut. "Okay, and by the way, I found a new producer on the way here." Gina immediately froze, wary of that dreaded word. No, don't worry, he's a good man. I can smell the type right away. He promised to help. He promised to find a good studio where they'll take your interests into account, where they won't overwork you." "Are you sure we can trust him?" "My surgeon's friend has already checked him out and he says he's decent." "So I can keep a solo career," Gina said thoughtfully. "Of course, everyone already knows you. People will buy tickets and you'll be able to set your own tour schedule and get paid fairly." "That's great!" The couple hugged again, enjoying each other's closeness. It seemed like there was no one happier in the whole world right now. "Hello, young people," came the cheerful voice of Dr. White. "I see our hero is on the mend." "Yes, I feel better. Thank you, Dr. White," sincerely thanked Ned. "Oh, it's just a couple of phone calls," waved his hand at the doctor. "People should help each other, especially those who are in trouble." "Thank you, Dr. White," Gina thanked him sincerely. "In fact, I don't know how I would be without you. You've become a savior angel to me." Everyone laughed, and it was a laugh of happiness and joy. A week later, Ned was discharged from the hospital, and Gina came to pick him up and take him to her home. Dr. White often visited them, and Gina's children were always delighted to see him because he always brought them treats and gifts. After some time, Gina and Ned got married. Gina's career developed. Her new producer turned out to be a good man who really cared for her. Ned became a reliable support for Gina, taking care of the house, the children, and Gina herself. As for Gina, she was not spoiled by popularity. She remained the same kind and generous woman, never forgetting all the people who had helped her get out of the difficult times in her life.